Game 5 was supposed to be the moment where TLPH proves their championship mentality. Everything was on the line. Momentum, confidence, and the series itself. But instead of a close mechanical battle, what we saw was a slow collapse that already started before the game even loaded. The biggest reason TLPH struggled in Game 5 was not execution, not nerves, not even individual mistakes. It was the drafting phase. Let's break it down properly. During the draft, fans immediately questioned one decision. Why Esmeralda Gold Lane? Why not a strong marksman? And more importantly, why commit to a composition that cannot deal with a late-game marksman like Claude? This wasn't just a comfort pick issue. This was a fundamental misunderstanding of what the enemy draft was trying to do. First, let's talk about the surprise that completely flipped the draft. Alter Ego picked Uranus. At first glance, most people assumed it was Uranus XP lane. That's the normal red. Uranus XP is standard. Tanky, annoying, strong, sustain, pressure on side lanes. But Alter Ego didn't play standard. They flexed the pick into Uranus jungle, and that single decision completely outdrafted TLPH. Uranus jungle changes everything. When Uranus is played as a jungler, you are not drafting for burst or early kills. You are drafting for tempo control, sustain, and objective pressure. Uranus does not need to win fights early. He just needs to survive, rotate, and become unkillable. Alter Ego built their entire composition around this idea. Now look at TLPH's response. Instead of adjusting, instead of pivoting into a high-damage gold laner that can shred tanks, TLPH locked Esmeralda Gold Lane. This is where the draft started collapsing. Esmeralda Gold Lane can work in very specific situations. Usually it works when the enemy gold laner is a shield-based hero or a low-mobility hero that relies on sustain rather than burst. But Claude is the exact opposite. Claude is mobile. Claude scales hard. Claude melts frontliners. And most importantly, Claude does not rely on shields that Esmeralda can steal effectively in gold lane matchups. So when fans ask, why Esmeralda Gold, they are asking the right question. Because in this game, Esmeralda Gold had no clear win condition. Esmeralda's strength is prolonged fights, shield stealing, and mid-game dominance against bruisers. But Claude does not want prolonged isolated duels. Claude wants team fights where he can free hit while tanks soak damage. And that is exactly what Alter Ego drafted. Uranus jungle in front, strong XP presence, Claude in the backline. Suddenly, Esmeralda Gold becomes a liability instead of a flex. Now let's talk about damage distribution. In a standard composition, the gold laner is your consistent damage dealer. They are the hero that deals with tanks in late game. By putting Esmeralda in gold lane, TLPH removed their most reliable source of sustained damage. That means one thing. They had no answer for Claude. As the game went longer, Claude scaled freely. Every team fight looked the same. Uranus walks forward, soaking damage. TLPH tries to commit resources to stop him. Claude positions safely, uses Blazing Duet, and melts everyone. Esmeralda could not threaten Claude, could not zone him, could not burst him, could not force him out of fights. This is why the draft failed. People often say execution was bad, but execution only matters when your draft gives you options. TLPH's draft removed their own options. Now let's talk about another important factor. Lane pressure. Esmeralda Gold does not pressure Claude the same way a marksman would. Heroes like Brody, Beatrix, or even Moskov force Claude to respect positioning early. They punish greed. Esmeralda does not. Claude was allowed to farm comfortably. No real threat, no kill pressure, no turret pressure. And when Claude farms freely, you already know how the story ends. Alter Ego understood this. That's why they were confident with Uranus jungle. They knew TLPH lacked the tools to punish it. Another key issue was objective control. Uranus jungle excels at contesting turtles and lords because he does not need to reset. He walks in, absorbs damage, walks out, heals, and comes back. Against this, you need burst damage or sustained DPS. TLPH had neither. Esmeralda cannot burst Uranus. She cannot shred him either. So every objective fight favored Alter Ego by default. This is why TLPH always looked one step behind. They were reacting instead of dictating. They were defending instead of attacking. And psychologically, that hurts. Game 5 pressure is real. When your draft does not give you confidence, hesitation creeps in. Rotations become slower. Calls become unclear. Suddenly, the team that looked decisive in earlier games looks lost. And fans felt it. You could see it on social media. Why no marksman? Why Esmeralda gold? Why no answer to Claude? Because the answer is simple. The draft underestimated the impact of Uranus jungle and overestimated what Esmeralda gold could do in this matchup. This was not a mechanical gap. This was a chess move that TLPH did not anticipate. Alter ego gambled on flexibility, and it paid off. Now, does this mean Esmeralda gold is always bad? No. But drafting is about context. And in this context, against Uranus jungle and Claude gold lane, it was the wrong call. Game 5 drafts are about clarity. You want simple win conditions. You want comfort heroes that scale predictably. TLPH instead went for a niche solution that required perfect execution, while Alter Ego drafted a composition that forgave mistakes. And in high-pressure games, the forgiving draft almost always wins. That's why TLPH struggled in Game 5. Not because they forgot how to play, not because they choked, but because the draft already placed them at a disadvantage before the match even began. If you enjoyed this deep breakdown and want more analysis like this, subscribe to get more knowledge about PH style.